Welcome to the Growth Project. This is Dr. Milt Lowder, and the Growth Project, for those of you who may be new to this, is a podcast presented by AMPLOS, and we are a performance psychology practice in Greenville, South Carolina, where our primary focus is to help you be better and pursue better. And what that means to us is to help you be better for the people and things that matter most in your life, while also pursuing the things that really matter, the things that continue to inspire you. We know that if the life you are leading and the work you are doing does not inspire you, it will not inspire anybody else. And today is a special treat for me. Our guest is Michelle Seaver. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I was reflecting back, obviously married my best friend, David Seaver. I remember meeting you 32 years ago. Wow. We continue to have different loyalties. We're actually recording this during the Carolina Clemson week.
Very appropriate.
Yeah, which was a huge divide for us early on in our relationship.
Absolutely.
I remember you coming to Clemson for Hootie and the Blowfish. I think you actually came back for the Carolina Clemson game in 1994. And you were a big Carolina fan. I'm like, David, let's think this through.
We had a bet for that game.
Yeah.
It was whoever won had to put the opposite team's license plate on the front of their car for the rest of 1994.
Did I do that, or did you do that? Who won?
I didn't bet you. I bet David.
Good. Okay, I'm glad you bet David. Yeah.
Gamecocks won, by the way.
Yeah, and I was like, we knew he was over. Like when he put it on the front of his car, I remember, I don't remember putting that on my car. We knew we had lost David.
Yeah.
That some things are more important than the rivalry, but hopefully we've outgrown those differences. We can appreciate that it's a fun part of life, but doesn't define us.
It's still a really important week in our house.
Yes. Yeah. So you have both daughters went to Carolina?
Yes.
And
so we've tipped.
Yeah, because Caitlin early on was a big Clemson fan. We had her for a long time.
She really enjoyed the championships.
Yes.
She was in it for the ACC championship, for getting to go to the Natty. That was really great. But we pulled a few strings and provided her with the best visit to Carolina that she could have ever had.
But they didn't include the SEC championship or national championships.
No, we're not worried about that. We have a great tailgate, Milt. It's going to be a great weekend.
You're going to win the tailgate.
Every time. We actually do win the tailgate, actually.
Yes, that is important. That is important. But it's been, the really cool part of life is as our life, and we grow personally and professionally, but also get to see that not only in your growth and what you've accomplished professionally, but more so personally, and to watch your daughters grow. And Caitlin called me Mulch at Embassy Suites when she was 3 years old in Kentucky. And so it's been a great kind of preparing for this, just to kind of go back in these moments in life. And so today is a little bit about you and your story and your experience and your leadership. And so your career has been pretty fascinating to watch, and how you've used the gifts that you've been given and the opportunities in front of you to give back. And I think that kind of led you to United. To be involved in the community. And so I want to make sure I got this right. You've been there for 12 and a half years?
That's right.
And serve as a president for Greenville, Spartanburg, Cherokee.
Yes.
And so that involves what as president?
The basic piece is that it oversees all customer-facing activities in those markets. So Greenville, Spartanburg, and then Cherokee County is our Gaffney office.
Oh, okay.
So it's our retail team, it's our branches, and it's our commercial team. It's how we deliver to the customer.
So before we get there, let's back up a little bit. And so again, I didn't meet you I think you were graduated and working at Carolina first.
That's right.
But from Greenville, Malden.
Went to high school on here.
Okay. And so early on, as you were learning from your parents and other experiences, how did you choose South Carolina? I don't even know what your major was.
Accounting.
Yes. What was this initial vision? What did you see for your career?
Oh, well, I did not have this planned at all. I actually wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
That was my goal, was to be a mom one day, because I came from such a solid family where family matters and family is super important. I was an accounting major because I liked numbers. My mom, pre-having children, was an algebra teacher. Okay. So we had an in-house tutor all the time. So I like that there are equations, things that make sense. There are answers. I know you're surprised by that I like the structure of that, but I like that there are defined answers there.
And I think that's important as we talked about career. We had Kathy Ligon on last week talking about, finding the intersection of your purpose and your passion is where you find a meaningful career in life. And you say, I want to be a mom, mm-hmm. which you are, but maybe you were visioning a stay-at-home mom is what you were thinking, or?
I wasn't sure.
Okay.
But I never, probably. I just wanted, that's what I grew up with.
Okay.
I think that's what I thought was success, which it absolutely is for me. I mean, my family is at the center of everything. We're so fortunate that both of our girls are in Greenville right now. And we've already talked about Married to David. Both girls are in Greenville right now. My parents live 3 miles away. David's parents live a few more miles away than that. I mean, everybody is here. My sister lives 2 doors down. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And so, but when did you start maybe seeing another opportunity like that this professional side really started to materialize?
So I laugh with my dad a lot about this. So in college, we already referenced Tootie and the Blowfish, so that's our generation.
Yeah.
So after my freshman year of college, I wanted to go work in Hilton Head, just like everybody else was doing, and go work at this place called the Old Post Office and be a groupie. I mean, I thought that was just what you were supposed to do. And Dad said, no, that doesn't work, that you've got to get a real job. So I applied at some banks. I thought, well, I can be a summer teller. Try to, in those days, you had to have a connection to get in, even more so than today. And so our next door neighbor's mother was Mac Whittle's assistant. Mm. So Mac was the CEO of Carolina First that started Carolina First in Greenville all those years ago. Yeah. So I was a summer teller back in the day where you had to wear dresses and hose and heels every single day. So, my friends are in cutoff shorts and T-shirts working in a bar. And I'm working, an 8 to 5:30 day in, hose and heels.
And so then that was your freshman year?
That was after my freshman year of college.
After your freshman year.
So I was working somebody's maternity leave. So what a great experience that was. The bank at that time was only 5 branches.
Oh, wow.
So just an amazing experience. Came back the next summer to work, and they would kind of put me in that CSR job, and I would just kind of wing it. I remember somebody asking what we thought the prime rate was going to do, and I didn't even know what the prime rate was. And I made something up. It was on a little piece of paper by my desk, but I remember Jim Terry, the president of the bank, walking by and hearing the conversation and coming back and explaining what prime was to me.
Were you close to being accurate? Do you remember, or do you know?
Oh, I don't even remember. I just made up something at the time. I don't remember. All of that. But so they just kind of threw me in different opportunities. That last summer, I needed to take one more class at Carolina, and one of those really tough accounting classes that should be taken in the summer. And so they had just bought a bank in Columbia. And so they let me go to school in the morning, and then I'd get there by 11 o'clock and work the rest of the day. So they really were working with my schedule.
Did you work there the rest of your time at in college?
So each summer.
So each summer you would work there?
Each summer I would work there. In the beginning, I was just working for spring break.
Okay.
I did like $100 CDs so that I'd have money to do a fun spring break. But then after college, I went straight into their training program.
So what do you think they saw in you at that time? What do you think they noticed about you that they wanted to continue to invest in you?
So I think that, I remember a conversation that I had with Jim about, because they looked at people that were super, super smart and incredibly academic. And, I probably wasn't quite that person. I was a little bit more well-rounded. I had leadership experience. I'd been president of the sorority council at Carolina. So I think they saw that I could do both. Yeah. That I could do those things that just can't be taught in school, was a quote that was told at one point.
Oh, that's good.
Which was really, I reflect on that a lot. Some things you just can't teach people.
Yeah, you got to be experienced. And so leadership opportunities, high school, college, that's always been a part of who you are?
Yes. I probably didn't know it at the time.
Yeah.
I remember being, terrified when I was running for sorority council president and all the tough things that went with that.
I can only imagine what that was like back in the day.
Yeah, that was tough.
It's hard for me sometimes to believe that fraternities and sororities are still around with some of the recurring challenges. And so then you early on as a leader, how would you describe yourself looking back? How would you describe yourself as a leader back in those early days?
In the early days, I think I really was just trying to find myself. And I would say those early days are long. Yeah. Those aren't just the 20s. Those are the 20s and the 30s. And I really, I remember a point in time when things changed. And we can certainly talk about that whenever. But I remember those early days, you're just shaped by every leader that you interact with. And I remember having tough days and talking to my parents and being like, this is so terrible. I can't do this anymore. And I remember my dad saying, and he was an IBM lifer. Okay. So, he, came up in a organization.
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, so we moved wherever the job was. That was their generation of I've been moved. So Dad told me that I would learn just as much from the bad bosses as the really good ones. And so, just taking a piece from each situation and trying to pull it together into, what I am today.
Well, I think, yeah, that to me becomes a fully integrated human.
Mm-hmm.
That you learn from the good, you learn from the bad. But one of my favorite quotes, you'll appreciate the NASCAR reference from Jimmy Johnson, so you can't drive another man's car.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to take it and make it your own.
Yep.
And kind of be authentic into who you are as a leader.
Yes. And so many times of being with different people, you try to adjust because you're thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to be, or I'm going to try to be more like this. And, you make it work during those times.
Yeah.
So at Carolina First, they had a program called Leaders Teaching Leaders, and they sent us to this week-long leadership training in San Diego. The girls were both little. I was crying by the end of the week because it was the longest I'd ever been away from them. It was 5 days, but they had different authors speaking to us, different business experts. I remember like the head of Hewlett Packard was there. I mean, it was a really big deal. But there was this one gentleman that spoke, and his book was called The True North. Mm-hmm. And even if I still have my book today, it's highlighted in there because it gave me permission to be who I am.
Yeah.
And so it talks about being, finding that authentic leader and being focused on your true north. So I always made decisions based on what I thought was right, and what felt good, and what wouldn't keep me up at night. Like it had to feel good as in my being.
Yeah. And what I like about, like I always say, when you give yourself permission to be human and to be who you were created to be, you give other people permission to do the same.
Yes. And nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, all those little pieces along the way. It doesn't mean that I've got it right. We are constantly evolving and getting better every day. We'll never master this. But
we keep pursuing it.
Keep pursuing it.
Yeah, we keep pursuing it. So when did and so I think there are, especially early on, becoming a strong leader, female leader in the banking industry. I don't know the industry that well, but I imagine there were maybe not a whole lot of female leaders when you started. And you've got this idea of, hey, I want to be a mom, and that's most important. This career was maybe sparked in you. How did you start kind of finding peace?
Well, I think peace is just evolves over time. That being a mom piece is just where I wanted to eventually get. Yeah. But I knew that I had to, I guess I knew that I had to achieve these things along the way. I've had so many great people in my life that had given me wonderful opportunities. I think back again to those Carolina First days and being a year out of college and being a loaned executive with the United Way, which is where they would send you out to the community to be an ambassador for the United Way in all these companies. Starting Leadership Greenville, I was 24 years old. It was class 24 when I was in Leadership Greenville. I think I was, if not the youngest, the second to youngest person. And, to see where that program is today, it's amazing to think that I had that opportunity at that age to have exposure. So many opportunities given to me through the years really has made this evolve.
So what did that teach you early on about giving back, being a part of the community? Because if I look at, so I don't want to get this right. So now you're on the board of Prisma Health, Artisphere, Greenville Chamber. You're the incoming chair there. The South Carolina Jobs, and let me say that SCJEDA.
It's SC Jetta.
Oh, SC Jetta.
Yeah, SC Jetta. So it's Jobs and Economic Development Authority.
Okay. USC Alumni Association, Greenville Tech Foundation. That in and of itself seems like full-time work. But was that desire to serve the community, was that born early on at Leadership Greenville out of being a loan executive, or where did that desire to give back to the community come from?
So I think it starts really early. I think even, we talk about our sorority fraternity life during college. We probably didn't realize the seeds that were being planted at that time. The little things of having to bake cookies at the Ronald McDonald House, or, doing a jump-a-thon outside of the Russell House. All those pieces, I think, prepare you for the right time to do the certain roles.
Yeah.
So jumping out there with the United Way, that was just such a great opportunity, and it was such a big deal at the time to get to do that. And I think that taught me that we have to give back. And I think being a part of that Carolina First culture of being a part of the community really shaped me into what I do today.
Yeah, and so United Community Bank. I mean, yes. So the focus and purpose of the community bank, how is that maybe different from some of your previous experiences, or maybe what sets you guys apart in terms of being a part of the community?
So being a part of United Community is just, it's so natural for me. And I love every bit of it. I love going to work every day. being a part of a bank that values the community is important for me. That makes it a good fit for me. It's not going to be a great fit for everybody, and that's okay. But having, we're a $28 billion bank located in 6 states.
Wow.
We're the largest headquartered bank in the state of South Carolina, and headquarters is right here in Greenville, South Carolina. I am super proud of that. And to get to have this organization that gives local decision making and really lets the local markets shape who they are in each of our markets in these 6 states with a common purpose, but executing locally it's just so special.
So how do you do that then? Because I think creativity within structure is what leads to freedom. Mm-hmm. And so there's a common together for good. Hey, here's why we do what we do. But even being headquartered in Greenville, you're the president of the Greenville, Spartanburg, Cherokee County. What does that look like? How do you let them find their own expression of ideas, their own expression of what it means to be a part of this bank and the community?
Mm-hmm. So with us being headquartered, there's a vision and the strategic vision is set by Lynn Harton, our CEO. But then he gives it to us to execute locally because it's not going to be the same everywhere. Yeah. Even in our building, while the office part of the building is mostly headquarter functions, we have our own separate section of the building, which I think is great and it's unique. So everybody customer facing is right there together. So, there's lots of cultures within cultures. I feel like because we are right here in Greenville, ours is probably a little bit closer aligned, but, wanting people to feel important and heard and feel a part of their organization is important. And, they can get lost even being at the headquarters office. So we joke around and say we celebrate all the things, all the small milestones, which are big milestones to people, just not 5-year anniversaries of working at the bank. And we have so many people that have been there for a really long time. I mean, there are people that have been at the bank for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Maybe even 35 years. And in our group, there's a core of us that have been together for 12 years when we first started the bank in Greenville.
So what made, so this is kind of off topic of you, but what made United come to headquarter in Greenville? What made them say this is a community we want to serve and be a part of?
Yes, so the bank was headquartered in Blairsville, Georgia. And Lynn Harton, our CEO, left his previous position to go work for United. He did not, he wanted to stay in Greenville with his wife. And so that's how Greenville started. That's how Greenville started. And so I talked to him for about 9 months about coming over to United. I had a great job, nothing wrong at all. I actually got stranded in the airport was really the straw that made me
traveling so
jump.
much.
It was traveling so much. The girls were in elementary school, middle school. I had it down where I could get to the destination and back in one day, but I was starting to miss volleyball games and cheer practice, and those things, are foundational to, what I wanted my life to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you've been able to create that. So you talk about cultures within culture. Mm-hmm. If I got this right, you guys have won the J.D. Power Customer Appreciation or Customer Satisfaction.
Number 1 in retail customer satisfaction.
Number 1
in the Southeast.
For 11 years?
11 years.
Okay, so how do you do that? How do you, across the Southeast, across 6 different states, all these different communities, how do you emphasize this is why we do what we do?
So we talk a lot about being legendary, and we want to be legendary for our customers, for our employees, and for our community. So what does legendary for employees look like? Well, in 2024 was our 8th year for being best banks to work for. We want to be a place where people want to come to work every day. The building that we've referenced a couple of times downtown is the first WELL-certified building in the state of South Carolina. We hear a lot about LEED certification. That's more about the environment. Well, WELL is about the health and well-being of the people that come to work every day. So we started building this building during COVID when nobody was going to work. Yeah. We were always going to work, but, other businesses were staying home. So you've got this building that's built for the people that work there. It sounds kind of normal that, it should be built for the people that work there, but there's a lot of details that are about, there's access to 2 outdoor terraces, access to the Swamp Rabbit Trail, workstations are along the outside of the building, which allows the light to come in. People are happier when they have access to light. There's the river room, which is our 4th floor really gathering space, is a place where people from all over the building can come together. So somebody from facilities may have no interaction with somebody from audit, but they can because they might come to lunch every day.
Yeah, and the research just supports this. I mean, if you've listened to our podcast, Gallup State of the Global Workforce, what the best practice organizations in the world do today to drive engagement of their employees is they find the harmony between well-being and performance. Mm-hmm. We care about who you are and we care about what you do. And one or the other is not sufficient.
Yes.
And so, hey, we're gonna put, and it sounds like if I get this, we're gonna be consistent with that we care about who you are, and it's easier to care about our customers. But it's got to start from the inside out.
It's got to start. So being legendary is about we've got to take care of our employees. Yeah. We want them to come to work, and we want them to be happy. So we do things like quarterly calls. We do employee surveys. And really, after we get the information back, then we put together action plans. Yeah. And then we implement it, and we share with them that we've heard them. Little things like... the last one that just came out was some of the branches wanted a clothing allowance where that they could buy United branded shirts to wear in the branches. So that's something that's coming out in 2026. So listening to what people are saying is really important because you can take a survey all day long and do nothing with it. Or the people don't know that you're doing with it. So communication, hearing our team. We have Employee Appreciation Day the 3rd week in October, where across the entire company on one day, we focus on appreciating our employees. Yeah. And so that looks a little bit different everywhere, but it's a focus.
That this is our day. And so I think that's mm-hmm. the other, like you said, it's easy to give a survey, mm-hmm. but if we don't act on the information or we don't know we've heard the information, it's better not to give it.
Right, exactly.
Because it creates so much frustration. Well, I've told you, and they never let us. Yeah, and it creates this huge disconnect between the people in the field, the people that are customer facing, and the headquarters office. And so how do you bridge that gap between, you mentioned facilities or you mentioned the mm-hmm. teller and you being at headquarters or you being the president? How do you bridge the gap that we're all on the same team?
Well, I think it's that constant communication. It's being real with people. It's interacting. It's getting to know them and finding out what's important to them. Like I know what's important to me. Like even we do these personality tests where we learn how to work with our team. So I have a new employee on our team. And she's fabulous, by the way. So excited to have her. But it helps us work better together. So I know what drives her or what type of personality she has and what makes her feel valued and important. And there's even a document that shows how we can work better together. She can see that, Michelle may feel this way when you talk to her this way. So it just helps you learn how to work with everybody.
That is.
Yeah, you may. Who knows? That's right.
And vice versa.
But it helps us communicate. We think we're communicating, but it's just maybe we're communicating in a way that we want to be communicated to.
Yes.
We laugh a lot that we have one teammate that needs to talk it out. When she's stressed, she's going to talk. And we talk about this all the time. And I might close up a little bit and just need to process. And then I might say, let's put a pin in that and let's talk about it tomorrow.
And what I think is so helpful about that, Nelson Mandela said, when you speak to someone in your language, it goes to their head. You speak in their language, it goes to their heart. And we think what it really does, because we use a lot of those surveys and assessments as well, it helps you label behaviors instead of label people.
Yeah.
And if I label people, that sets limits on my ability to lead them, connect with them, encourage them to find out what's important to them. And I hear you leading with that it's more about them than it is about you.
Absolutely. And I think it takes a long time to, not everybody gets that either, that you've got to be in a position where you can let go of that and not make it about you.
So I think we all do that,
mm-hmm.
right? Like especially early on, the stress, what I think makes you selfish and the pressure to perform, the pressure to know everything. How did you work on removing that ego from that?
I think it's just practice. I think in the beginning it is all about you because you're trying to succeed and you're trying to get the next job and you don't want to be forgotten and you want to be included. I remember somebody saying to me one time, because I didn't get included in something, they're like, well, would you really have gone? And I'm like, well, no, I probably wouldn't have gone. So, so it doesn't matter anymore. But I think it's practice.
Yeah.
I think it takes practice and you've got to get comfortable in yourself also, and it takes a while to get comfortable in yourself and your own skin to realize that the people around you are more important. Like you need to sacrifice for others so that the team is better together.
Oh, I love that. And I think it does. We're in this constant state of comparison in this constant world of expectations. And you've broken through some of those expectations and stereotypes, especially in the industry. How have you not let that set limits on what you can accomplish and being a great wife and being a great mom and being a great leader and being involved? How have you broken through some of those barriers about being a strong female leader in the industry?
Yes, I don't think that way. I don't think about, people ask that. Yeah. And I just don't think of that. I don't think about whether somebody's male or female on whether or not they're going to be a good board candidate or whether or not they're going to be a good employee. I want the best people around us. And so I want to be that best person for somebody, regardless if I'm got a child in tow or, what my responsibilities at home are. We've talked so much about over the years about work-life balance. That's been such a theme in the world. And, I don't know if that completely exists or not, but I want my team to feel like they have it.
Yeah. I think the word work-life balance always reminds me that I'm out of balance. Mm-hmm. And so somebody brought up to me not long ago that what we're really striving for is harmony, that work-life harmony. And I love that so much better.
So great.
It kind of gives me some permission to find that harmony, because work-life balance, if I'm honest in my life, it's more work than life sometimes.
I think work is life.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't separate it.
Right. I think that used to be a theme so much of separating it all. Yeah. But you do have to find like that harmony. I just wrote it down.
Oh, good. Yeah.
That's good.
I do like that harmony because that's what we're striving for. And so with that, if you look about, and so wait, I don't want to forget that, but I do think we had Kathy Ligon on last week about her starting her business and back when females were not. So I'm not saying you think that way.
Other people definitely think that way.
But were you mindful of that in 1994 or 95, that maybe there weren't a lot of female leaders or a lot of people in this industry? Were you aware of that, or you just kind of?
I don't think I was aware of it at all. I think I just jumped in and worked hard and tried to be the best I could be.
Yeah. And that, I don't know how many times I've said this proverb on our podcast, but 22:9 says, do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. They will not serve before obscure people. And so in my mind, what I hear you saying is, Milt, and you mentioned earlier off air, how can I add value? How can I be the best that I can be? Mm-hmm. How can I demonstrate my skill? How can I use what I have to make other people better?
Absolutely. We have so many young people on our team, and when we meet with them, it's our responsibility to help them prepare for their next job. I think that this generation is always looking at, what's next.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody saying to me years ago, well, don't you want to be a market president? And I'm like, it's never crossed my mind. Yeah. I said, I just want to be the best I can be at this job. And that I feel like the opportunities present themselves. So when I'm talking to our teammates, I'll say, be the best you can be at the job you're doing right now. Master it. Be great, and opportunities will present themselves.
Absolutely. Skilled in your work. Mm-hmm. And so okay, I'm going to make you uncomfortable here. So what does that mean to you, being the best that you can be at this job? Yeah. Like, what does that require of you? What does that look like?
Well, some weeks are tougher than others. During the day, I feel like sometimes I'm so overscheduled that I can't get the other stuff done. So it means I might come in a little bit early because I do like that maybe hour before everybody else gets to work, where I can just knock some things off. I like a to-do list. It keeps me organized. It keeps me from waking up in the middle of the night. And then really that time at the end of the day to kind of clean up. Mm. So it might mean that I'm giving a lot to others during the day, during a traditional work day, but that I've got to carve out a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end to clean up.
Yeah, and I think, our belief is you got to at least have some capability of leading yourself before you lead others. Mm-hmm. And so what I hear is, how can I get my mind right? Mm-hmm. How can I have some peace and quiet to think? Jim Rohn, not Jim Rome. Jim Rohn said the greatest ability of any leader is the ability to think. Mm-hmm. And then disengage. So being the best that I can be, I love this idea of being legendary. All the roles that you play, we mentioned president, we mentioned board chair, we mentioned community, we mentioned parent, we mentioned mom, we mentioned wife. how do you find the energy or to be the best that you can be in all those roles?
It doesn't mean I'm great at them every day.
Yeah.
Some suffer when something else is getting a little bit more attention. And I've had to give myself forgiveness for that. Like I remember when the girls were little, I finally had to give myself the okay to leave dishes in the sink.
Yeah.
Those dishes being in the sink overnight it's not gonna be the end of the world. They'll still be there tomorrow, and I can deal with them tomorrow. Yeah. So forgiveness to make some mistakes. We talked about during the day, and I think about people coming into my office and they'll be like, I know you're really busy, but, and I'm like, everybody's busy. Yeah. Everybody has their busyness, or they have the work that they're working on. And so I try really hard to focus on, what can I do? Can I help you? Or if someone's coming in right before and says, I know you're busy, but, and I'm like, sure, I have 5 minutes. I'm trying to prepare to go out to a meeting, but what can I help you with?
Yeah. How do you walk that fine line as a leader? Because I hear you're like, hey, I know you're busy, but I hear that all the time. It's like one goal of mine is for people to quit saying that. I don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said everybody's busy. That's my line.
I can create busyness. I know I can do that.
Yes.
But how do you find that fine line between empowerment and enablement? That, hey, I know you're busy, but how do you find the margin to say, okay, you can solve this problem. I don't need to solve this problem.
So I think sometimes if you can, if you know what they're typically coming for or what's going on. And I think not just solving the problem, but helping them solve the problem. I think that's something that I've learned from great managers through the years of not just asking for the answer, but them requiring me to think also. Sometimes we just want the answer. We want to move on from it and go to the next task. But making you accountable to make your own decisions, I think, is helpful. So leading somebody to that decision is just as important as giving the answer.
Yeah, if I'm making the decision for you, what I'm really robbing you of is the confidence to make the decision.
Absolutely. And I've absolutely been gifted with that in my life, meaning that somebody has allowed me to make the decision.
Yeah.
That's been a gift to me instead of, I just want the answer and move on.
I love that seen as a gift. Abraham Lincoln said, don't ever do something for somebody they can do for themselves. And when we had our clinical practice and we saw a bunch of adolescents, they would walk in. And I'm like, hey, well, what's the biggest problem? And they said, my parents don't trust me. I'm like, well, how do you know they don't trust you? It's like, well, they do everything for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so if they're getting it as adolescents, same thing for the people that work for us. If we're doing everything for them, the underlying message is, hey, I don't believe you have what it takes. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think you see it as a gift, because somebody saw something in you. It's like, hey, I believe you have what it takes. I trust you can make this decision. I trust you can figure this out. And how much that led to confidence in your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love forgiveness. Mm-hmm. Like forgiveness leads to freedom. I love permission to, hey, we aren't going to get it perfect. But all these different roles, how has that kind of helped shape your view of leadership?
I think it's given me so many opportunities to lead in different organizations, different opportunities, get you out of your comfort zone with something maybe you don't know every day. My first board chair position was when I worked at Carolina First, and I went to be on the board of the South Carolina Children's Theater. Yeah. And, as a banker, you always get to be the treasurer at some point during your board service of whatever it is.
They never asked me to be a treasurer on anything.
Well, I always get asked to be the treasurer. So I think learning how to use your skills in a different environment is really helpful, and getting to understand the different challenges instead of just being on maybe the receiving end of the financials, but the one that has to help somebody run this piece. So the Children's Theater was a great, nobody in our family is necessarily gifted with the ability to, in my direct family, David's dad definitely has the gift of a voice. The singing piece or the acting piece or whatever, we don't have that gift, but, we can use our gifts differently. So that was really the first opportunity that I had. But, this chamber role was something I thought was so important for the bank and for the community. And, for the last year, I feel like I've been chair in training, trying to learn all this and figure it out. And I'm really excited to get to do that next year. It's big, and it's going It's going to take
a
lot.
It's a huge opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
But I love what I hear the underpinnings throughout your life of a growth mindset, that I'm going to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to try to grow. And I think it's amazing sometimes we'll do things for others we won't do for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And I hear that as a driving force in your life. And I've seen it, whether that's at work or whether that's at home or whether that's in our community, is I'm going to do it for something greater than myself. Well,
and I want to make sure that I'm representing well also.
Yeah.
So if it requires homework or practice or whatever it is, we've talked about this offline before we got started. It's the 13th year that we are sponsoring Ice on Main, and that was such a great way for us to get our brand out in the community. But that meant a press conference. That meant being on the news whenever they needed it, and that was not a comfortable place in the beginning. So the practice, having a coach to help me get comfortable with those speaking engagements has really meant a lot to me. And even we sponsor Holiday at Peace, which is the Greenville Symphony's holiday program, going out on stage at the Peace Center and not having a podium to, at least tap your fingers on or, hold something or whatever, and just having to speak to the crowd. That was the total out of my comfort zone. And I had to train myself and get my head right to be able to do that.
Well, we were big proponents of that here at AMPLOS.
Yeah.
But I think there's so much pressure to be great at everything. And if I'm hearing this, Michelle, you've taken some of that pressure off and continue, like, how can I get better? How can I grow? How can I improve? Because leadership is such a lonely position, that pressure to have all the answers. But what I hear in this is, hey, you're willing to grow and you're willing to lead by example to do things that maybe you're not that comfortable with.
And I also want to be surrounded by really smart people. Like, my team is fabulous. They can do things I can't do. And I am really comfortable knowing that. But yes, but our organization is constantly learning. It is definitely a key component to who we are. We'll have people come to our senior leadership team meetings that we have twice a year that will speak to us about leadership. There are books they ask us to read. There are different book clubs that we have throughout the bank of leadership books. And, those aren't beach reads. Those are continuing education, during the year. And it just helps us be better. And if we can just get a little nugget out of something in one of those books, it helps us be better.
We mentioned earlier, I love that it's just being skilled in your work, and you don't look at some of the challenges of being a female leader and some of those extra expectations I think society puts on women in the workforce and women at home. And so as you look at young women entering the workforce or going to college, you have two, I have two that are eventually going to be there. What advice would you give to them about their career path or finding harmony between being maybe at home or being in the workforce? That
same piece of advice that we talked about for any young employee. And, I talk about our teammate is really just be the best that you can be. Yeah. I've had so much fun getting to do this with Caitlin. Yeah. She's out of the workforce for 3 years. She's been shaped by Miltisms through the years, where David would put a Miltism on her mirror. Sometimes it was welcome, sometimes it wasn't.
That means so much to me because you just never know. But to watch her grow and to think that we've stayed connected, although maybe we don't get to spend as much time together.
Well, you've definitely made an impact for sure. We definitely refer to certain terms as Miltisms.
Oh, that's funny.
Even if it's anything just really conceptual or profound or whatever, it's a Miltism.
Yeah. And I love her honesty is like sometimes she's okay with it and sometimes she don't want to hear. My kids don't want to either.
I'm sure. Sometimes it's not welcome, but I love even going through her interview process with her and her saying, "Mom, I watched you do that. I don't want to do that." She didn't want to travel in her job because she saw how hard that was for me to balance everything. But to see her, and she's now involved in different organizations, and to see her jump in and get that learning, that's education, getting involved in the community. That's making where you live an even better place because you care enough to be involved in the community. But to see her jump in and do that has been just so rewarding for me. But to hear what she has taken from all this makes me think, okay, I might have done something right along the way when I was in survival mode, because there were definitely years that we were just surviving.
Oh yeah, if I think about, in my mind, I have this idea of, and it's mainly I'm thinking about men, about the 4 quarters of life, and that second quarter from kind of 25 to 44. The title of it is survival mode.
Oh,
You're just
didn't even know that.
Yeah, you're just complete survival mode, and you're like, okay, how did we get here? What in the world? Because you're so busy making a living, you're so busy trying to make a life, that you lose track of time. But I think there's an author that said, my parents did not tell me how to live. They just lived, I learned by watching them. And so I hear Caitlin seeing you, watching you, and some of, hey, what I don't want.
Yes, which is great.
Yeah, and some of
just
what
as rewarding.
Yeah, some of what I do want.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch her grow up and to have her develop what's important to her. Yeah. And it's been really fun to watch that. And Caroline, she's graduated and she's, her journey's a little bit different. And, she jumped into all that leadership in high school and did all the student government. And, that got impacted a little bit by COVID, but she's always had like this huge pack of people that she's roamed with. And right now she's trying to go to DC to live and work. And so she's got a, part-time job here right now. And she's, bankrolling everything that she can so that she has, right now, I think she said she had 2 months of DC rent in her savings account. And I'm like, okay, that's good.
Probably taking more out of her mom than her dad there.
Well, I don't know. He does pretty well too.
Well, he's just got a gift of people and joy that he brings. I mean, my man, I don't think he's changed a whole lot in 30-something years, and sometimes that's not a compliment for him.
I think it is.
The joy, he's so consistent and enjoys life and enjoys people, that you guys have seemed to find that harmony in your life and your relationship.
He makes me so much better.
Yeah.
He just has such a positive outlook on everything.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty positive about things too. But, when I'm down, he lifts me up. If he's down, I can lift him up. It really is just it's a great harmony. And I just think I'm so lucky to have someone like him in my life.
Which is great advice that you've also delivered professionally, but also personally for young people, that you find somebody that makes you better, that compliments you, that is maybe not just like you.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think that you've got to know that, Instagram tells kids right now, or social media in general, thinks that everything's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And, life's not perfect. And
No.
I would say not every day is sunshine and roses, and that's not real life, what you're seeing there.
No.
So having somebody that you really can do real life with is so important.
Well, I think it's so important for our children, for them to see the struggle. Mm-hmm. We try to hide from our children the complexities and challenges of whether that's marriage or work or life. And we create this narrative in their mind, that everything's easy and it should. And so, hey, that even college, one of my soapboxes is, we tell people college is the best time of their life. And the pressure we put on young people, that has to be the time of life. But two, I'm always, well, what if it's not? Yeah. What if college was a very difficult time in my life? That if people think it's the best time, we just put such a burden on others.
Yeah, I think we do. And we set these unrealistic expectations. Yes. And I think that it is more of, and reflecting, of course, it's easier to look in the rearview mirror and see what life is really like. But I think that is such a time of development. You're being friends with so many different kinds of people, you're having challenges in your life, you're growing through them, and it does help shape who you are today. And I think that, those that have those special relationships still, you can't be friends with the whole pack still because, life comes along, but being able to still be able to, put a pin in that relationship and catch right back where you've left off is so great.
Well, that's a true gift of a friend. Mm-hmm. And so, one of my last questions here before we kind of wrap up, I think it's the Together for Good. Yeah. And so what is that? That's United Community Banks. That's kind of your motto, I guess. Mm-hmm. Or so what does that mean to you? And what does that mean in your life?
So first of all, when we were talking about legendary earlier, there were 3 components. We didn't quite get to the community piece of it. So, it's the employees, it's the customers, and it's legendary for our community. So we have a Together for Good council at the bank that pulls people from all across the bank to come together to, it's a leadership opportunity, but then it also is educational about, and there's certain projects in the community that they do. And it's wherever they are throughout the 6-state footprint. So it's such a great opportunity to come together for good in your community. So I love that it's not just a tagline, but it's an action item for us too. And that, we turn that group over every couple of years so that more people have the opportunity. But it's a way to recognize people that are doing great things in the community, or people that are just doing great things in their job and need to be recognized to do a little bit more. So what that means for me personally is it's the opportunity to be out in the community and to represent our brand. And so for me to be able to go out and represent United in so many different ways in our community, I'm so thankful for it. And, this week of Thanksgiving, we talked about it being Carolina-Clemson game too, but as a week of Thanksgiving, I'm so thankful to work for an organization that values coming together for good. Yeah. Being together for good and being together for our team and for the community.
Well, I think a common theme that I've known in your life is it's not just about talk, it's about action. And there's intentionality that you do what you say you're going to do. And it's awesome, it sounds like, to be at a place, at a bank that honors that as well, that we care about the community. It's in our name. Mm-hmm. And not only do we talk about it, we put resources and energy and effort behind it.
Totally agree with that. And it's been fun. So our United Community Foundation was founded during COVID. So when banks were doing the PPP loans, there was a fee that they got from the government to do that. So we used a portion of those fees to establish our foundation. And so what a special way to get this started at our bank. And so our foundation is not the Together for Good Council works on this, but the foundation is not just an application process externally. Actually, nobody external can apply. It is a mini grant process where it helps to fund organizations that our teammates are passionate about. So if someone is, passionate about a certain organization that they're involved with, there is an internal application process where they've got to talk about what they're doing, what the time commitment is. We've got to put those hours in so that we can track them, but then we want pictures of them doing great work. So example would be Habitat. If somebody's, volunteering for Habitat in their local community, the foundation could fund them. And so that's supporting the individual too. So it's supporting the community, but it's supporting the individual that's passionate about an organization.
Well, that's another way to serve your employees.
Yep.
Yeah, we care about not only who you are, we care about what's important to you.
Right. So we're not just giving money to organization. There's you're headquartered in Greenville and you've got a foundation. People see dollar signs a lot of times, but we're so intentional about funding the organizations that our teammates are passionate about. So again, just another great way to support our team.
Awesome. Well, this has been a blessing for me. I'm grateful for a friendship for over 30 years.
Yeah, wow.
To see your growth, still be a part of your life, David's life, to watch your girls grow. What is final thoughts and comments as we reflect on our conversation and reflect? I got one more question for you after that, but final thoughts or perspective from you.
This has just been such a blessing to be able to sit here and talk through this with you. I don't think we take time to reflect as often as we should. We're trying to get through that checklist or get through those days and those commitments and supporting a team or supporting our family, that we don't sit back and reflect on it too much. So this has been a gift for me to get to kind of work through it and think about the different pieces of it and, put it all together.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice. I know this is coming out maybe the week after Thanksgiving, but to take time to reflect and think about and your own growth and be grateful for who you are and where you're going and who's in your life. That giving yourself time to think and reflect is a powerful way to keep moving forward and be consistent and intentional about what's important.
And I think that's part of growing up too. Hopefully I'm grown up by now. I don't know. I think I'm still growing.
Oh, me.
That's right. But it's a part of your evolution. Yeah. I don't think that you can look back at certain phases yet, because again, you're in the survival mode and you're in whatever mode. But I feel like this is such a great time to really reflect and say, this is what I've been able to accomplish at a wonderful institution, and how thankful I am for that organization that gave me the opportunity to do this job. And I remember somebody telling me when I first started that, you need to take care of the things that are given to you.
Oh, yeah.
And they said it in a little bit different way, but I very vividly reflect back on that conversation. And this was a gift, and this was somebody believing in me And so I had to work as hard as I could to do the job that he gave me to do.
Yeah, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
And so, well done.
I knew you could quote it better
Yeah,
than me.
well done is what I would say. And thank you for sharing that with us today. So my last question, and I hadn't framed it out well, but being legendary to you going forward, what does that mean for you, being legendary?
I just want to keep doing the things that I'm doing and just continue to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Meaning not necessarily, I'm not thinking job level. I'm not thinking of that. I'm just saying of what I can do for our community and what I can do for our bank to continue to be legendary, to deliver on that value proposition, both professionally and personally, and just to be the best that I can be.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your love, your friendship with us and my family. And thank you all for listening. And I hope you take as much from this conversation as I did. And I hope, as Michelle was saying early on, that you take bits and pieces of this conversation, give yourself permission to be human, give yourself permission to be imperfect, get a clear vision in your mind of what being the best that you can be looks like. And then go be who you were created to be, and don't play somebody else's game. So, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing that today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been really special.